Hi there, and welcome to Hyundai Power Equipment. My name's Adrian, and today we're going to look at the HY4TR26 Petrol Grass Trimmer. As you can see, it'll arrive to you in nice sturdy packaging, so I'm going to lay the contents out on the bench so you can see exactly what you get. So I've laid the contents of the packaging out here on the bench for you to see. First of all, we have the main unit itself, with the engine on the one end and the top half of the shaft. Then we have the lower part of the shaft. We'll show you how to assemble those together. The upper handle, we'll show you how to put that on. The lower guard, we'll show you how that fits. A shoulder strap. Double-ended box spanner. A Torx type wrench. Then we have the bump head itself, followed by this small steel part with a hexagon and a washer. Next we have the oil measure bottle. We shall talk you through that. And finally, a comprehensive user manual. Now I do recommend that you read the manual thoroughly before use. And that's the contents of your packaging. So we're going to start by fitting the upper handle. Now, as you can see, the handle is angled away from the center line of the bore. And the handle wants to be fitted with the shaft passing through this bore here, with the handle facing away from the engine. So the first thing we're going to do is undo these 4 screws. So using the Torx wrench provided, I'll just undo the 4 screws at number 4. And as you can see, this allows the 2 halves to be split. You will notice that there is a pin on one side and a hole on the other side to accept the pin. On the same note, you will notice a series of 3 grooves on the shaft. This pin will align in any one of these 3 grooves, so that the position is adjustable to suit yourself as to where the handle goes. So for this particular exercise, I'll stick it in the middle groove of the 3. Again, lining up the pin with the hole in the top. As you can see, it will align quite simply, the pin in the hole, and the handle is facing away from the engine, which is correct. Now I'll simply fit the 4 screws back in again. I'll just get the 4 started and then I'll tighten them down. But as I said, you can remove it at any time and adjust the position of the handle from the back, middle or forward position. So here are the grooves, one here, and my pin in the centre of the plastic bracket is aligned with the centre one. So I'll fit the 4 screws and then tighten the handle down. Yeah, that's the 4th one started. And once you've got all 4 in, you can just neatly tighten down the 4 screws. That's the 3rd. And that's the final screw, and that's the upper handle fitted. So we'll shift our attention to the lower part now and fitting the bump head. Now the bump head, I'll just put that to one side. This is where the steel component, the drive plate with the hexagon in it, the washer and the bump head come into action. As you can see, there's a hexagon on the end of the shaft and there is a hole drilled through this hexagon. So you can rotate this shaft, this hexagon here, until the hole in the outer part of the tube lines up with the hole in the hexagon. And you can then fit your Torx driver through the hole. So now you know you have it aligned. So I'll just pull that back out, and then fitting this cup with the hollow side down, lining up this slot with the hole in the top, and that allows me to still be able to get the Torx bit through, which locks the drive shaft. So then it's simply on with the washer, and then screw the bump head on onto the thread, conventional thread this one, clockwise direction, holding the shaft with the Torx rod which locks the shaft. Just hand tighten the bump head and then you can remove the Torx screw. And that's how to fit the bump head. So moving on again with the lower part of the shaft, we're going to fit this lower guard. As you can see on the bottom of the shaft, we have a bracket here, and the guard will fit around the shaft, over the top, with this bolt passing through the hole in the bracket. So the first thing I need to do is just quickly remove the little wing nut and remove the little bolt. As you can see, it will only go in one way. There's a hexagon pocket here for the bolt to fit in. Try that again, shall we? There's a hole there for the bolt to sit in, and I can simply firmly push it on over the top, wiggle it down until the holes line up. That's about it. Pass the hexagon bolt back through the lock and then replace the little wing nut on the other side. And I'll just tighten that down firmly. And there we are. That's the lower guard fitted. So your grass trimmer has a 4-stroke petrol engine, and in that case it does need engine oil adding before use, and it's absolutely essential that you add the engine oil before even attempting to start. So we shall take you through adding the engine oil in the correct quantity, and that's why we supply you with this little bottle. It holds exactly 60 millilitres, and we're going to fill it with the correct engine oil. I'll take you through that now. So the engine oil required is a semi-synthetic SAE 10W30 engine oil. I have a litre of it here. And what I would do was transfer 60 millilitres or fill this bottle just to the top here, just below the black cap, right there. Now the engine oil has to be poured in through this filler plug here. I shall demonstrate. So firstly, you need to have the unit on a nice flat level surface so that you can get the correct oil level. And we shall undo this plug by rotating it anti-clockwise. And I can remove the plug. Now you may notice a residual amount of engine oil when you remove the plug, and this is because the engine has been tested at the factory with engine oil in it, but the majority of it has been completely removed. So what you would do, and I'd probably suggest you can tip the machine over on a sort of 45-degree angle and probably pour about 3/4 of your bottle in through the hole, gradually and slowly. Then you can drop the machine back to level, and when the correct level is achieved, you would expect the oil to come right to the top of these threads, but not to be pouring back out again, so to the weir point of the threads of the filler hole. So if it were lower, you could then tip it back again, pour the rest of the oil in. It should take around 60 millilitres. It may be 58, it may be 62. And then you can drop it back down to level, and it should just reach this little weir point here. If you find you have a little bit too much in, then obviously just tip a little bit more out again until you get to that point. So having filled the engine oil to the correct level, simply tip it back and replace the filler plug, rotating it clockwise, and tighten it down firmly. And that's how to fill your engine oil. So having filled the engine oil to the correct level, we can now add fuel to the machine. 4-stroke machine, just pure, fresh, unleaded petrol. Anti-clockwise, you can remove the filler cap. I got petrol here in a suitable jug, and you can simply pour the petrol into the petrol tank. Now the recommended level would be around 25 millimeters from the top of the spout. So don't fill it right to the very brim, but somewhere around level with the very top of the tank here, but not level with the top of the spout. This will allow room for expansion of the petrol, so you've got about 25 millimeters of air gap in the top. So once you've filled it to the correct level, simply replace the cap, turning it clockwise and screwing it down firmly. Just a little safety tip when refueling. Never refuel the engine when the engine is hot, because you may spill fuel on a hot exhaust and that would be a fire risk. And certainly never refuel the machine when the engine is running. So moving on, let's look at the connection between the upper and lower shafts. Now you will notice that there is a piece of cardboard pushed into the upper shaft for transit. Just remove this piece of cardboard out of the end. Okay. Similarly, there is a plastic plug on the end of the lower shaft to stop any dirt ingress when you're storing a unit. So remove this prior to assembly, but plug it back on the end when you're not using it. Okay. So I'll simply insert the lower shaft into the upper. I may need to wriggle it around just a little bit just to get the drive flange to line up. There we go. And then rotate the lower shaft until the button pops out the side. Now that it has, I can simply do up the blue plastic hand wheel, snugging it down firmly, and that is the two halves of the shaft assembled. And remember to keep your little transit plug to put it back on the lower shaft afterwards to stop dirt getting in when you have got it split in two. So the final part of the assembly will be the shoulder strap. So it's got a simple shoulder strap which is adjustable in length, and using the little spring hook, it simply hooks on in this point here. And to remove it, you can simply unclasp it. So that's the shoulder strap. So just some details on the controls. Here we have the on-off switch. It says stop on this end and the letter 1 on that end. So forward would be on and back would be stop. This is the trigger or accelerator for the engine, and it won't move unless you push down on the trigger lock here. So you squeeze the trigger lock down and then you can use the throttle, or the accelerator as it were. Here on the front of the air filter we have the choke button, which you need to push for a cold start, and you simply push it down and it will lock in position. If at any time you pull the throttle, it will switch off. So you push this button down for a cold start. I shall show you that shortly in the starting procedure. Secondary to this, on the back of the carburetor we have the primer bulb. Again, you press the primer bulb several times when initially starting and when it hasn't been started for a while to pump fuel from the fuel tank into the carburetor. Probably take about 7 pushes and you will see that the little bulb is full of petrol. So that is the primer bulb, and that is the choke. So next we'll move on to the starting procedure. So having fully assembled the machine, we've oiled it, we've got fuel in it, it's now ready for use. So for a cold start, the procedure would be, first of all, switch the engine on the red start switch, so that's forward, on. Push the choke button in, so that's in. Press the primer bulb on the back of the carburetor several times until it is full of fuel, and it is now ready to start. Then simply pull on the pull starter, may take 2 or 3 times until the engine starts. Once the engine has started, leave it idle for around 10 seconds and then you can pull on the accelerator. That will disengage the choke and it is now ready for use and should be revving freely. Should it stall again, simply re-push the choke and pull start it again and go through the same procedure. When you want to stop the machine, allow it to idle for 20 seconds until the engine has revved right down to an idle again, and then simply switch off on the on-off switch. For a hot start, again, switch the on-off switch on. Make sure there is fuel in your primer bulb. Chances are there will be if you've just stopped it. And again, pull start the machine. Once it has started, obviously we're not switching the choke off this time. It is ready for use. Again, to stop the machine, allow it to idle down, leave it tick over for around 20 seconds and switch the engine off on the on-off switch. and that's a hot and cold start on your petrol grass trimmer. Well, I do hope you found this demonstration useful. For more information on this or any other Hyundai products, simply visit www.hyundaipowerequipment.co.uk. I've been Adrian, and happy gardening.